gurus have sold you 4 courses in the last 3 years. You finished 2. You implemented 1 for a while, you made some money, but never got the results, the 10x growth that they promised you. And when the frameworks didn't work, they blame you. They said you didn't execute hard enough. They said you didn't want it bad enough. They said you need to fix your mindset. Wrong. You failed because you were sold business skills when what you needed was execution skills. Their frameworks likely work. You just don't have the operating system to run them. And no guru teaches you how to build that. And that's not their fault. That's by design. Now, quick pause. If you're actually serious about executing with clarity, focus, and consistency every single day, we've worked hundreds of founders, remove procrastination and burnout by about 90%, triple their productivity within about 6 weeks, and we're rated 4.7 on Trustpilot. So if you truly want to succeed fast, the easy way, book a call with us. Their business model is based on selling as many copies as they can of their frameworks without really caring about whether you get the results. That is why they sell you marketing funnels or sales frameworks or content strategies or growth playbooks. They all might be valuable, but none of them work if you can't execute consistently. Because you can buy the course on Outbound, learn the frameworks, and actually believe you're gonna 10x your pipeline. But if every time you sat down to execute, your body, your brain flags that as a threat, if your heart rate climbs, if you get distracted and check Instagram or email or Twitter instead, you're never going to actually get it done. Because your nervous system treated that task as a threat. And nobody taught you how to regulate that. And the gurus tell you that it is because you lack the discipline. No, it's because you were never trained to get it done. You never train yourself to resist distractions, to avoid doubting yourself, to have a clear idea of how to actually get it done. They sell you business skills, the what, but they don't sell you what you need most, execution skills, the how and the why to do it. And if you never learn execution skills, you're never going to be successful. Because according to recent research, founders can waste up to 70% of the day in doubts, distractions, and negative loops. And that is not a discipline problem. It is an untrained operating system. And trying to build financial freedom with a mind that has never been trained to handle what you need to do is going to end up terribly wrong. That is why every elite athlete, they learn how to focus, how to make decisions under pressure, how to regulate their emotions, how to manage their energy. They train their brain and nervous system to execute. That is why they are successful. But gurus just expect you to scale a business with an untrained mind and then blame you when you can't. Or worse, they sell you a 20-hour mindset course that is just recycled bullshit that does nothing to move the needle. If you truly want to master execution skills, here's the best way to go about it. I want you to see your execution as 5 pillars. Pillar number 1 is the spiritual foundation, your sense of meaning and purpose that sustains your execution when results are invisible. Gurus assume that you know why you're building what you're building, that your purpose is clear, but it is not. You bought the course to make money, but 2 months in, the why feels hollow, and you are getting things done out of fear of being broke, not purpose to actually make a dent in the universe. So you end up sabotaging and quitting. And the gap is that no guru can help you condition your purpose so that you can actually get things done consistently. Pillar number 2 is mental performance, is your emotional regulation and self-belief under pressure. And gurus assume that if you lose a deal, if a sale goes wrong, if something doesn't match your expectations, you can process it quickly and then move on. And you and I both know that every time you lose a deal, that throws you off for at least 2 to 3 days. That your self-belief is fused to the outcome you get. If you're not winning, you feel like a failure. And that one setback destroys your consistency. This is not how elite founders operate. Elite founders train their mental performance to be consistent every day. Pillar number 3 is physical performance, is your energy management and capacity to avoid burnout. Gurus assume that you can execute consistently day after day, no crash cycles, but the truth is that you get hyped for a few days a week, you work 14-hour days for a couple weeks, and then you eventually burn out, and you end up quitting. Pillar number 4 is strategic clarity, which is your ability to find leverage and focus on what moves the needle. Gurus assume that you implement the framework, you know which 20% of actions drive 80%, and you focus there. But truly, you implement the framework, but also everything else. And you start with a bloated strategy that gets you nowhere. You optimize your landing page or your email signature when you should be doing outbound. You mistake activity for progress. And this happens to 100% of the clients that we work with when we start working together, because they never get trained how to filter signal from noise. And the fifth pillar is the executive function. It is the ability to execute decisions without deliberating emotionally. And gurus assume that you know how to actually do what you say you're going to do and learn from feedback and do that quickly. But that's not true. You decide to launch, you deliberate for 3 months, you tell yourself you need more data, more research, more whatever, and when you finally launch, you take feedback personally. That is exactly how elite founders don't do it. They do the opposite. They launch fast and they learn even faster. And those are the 5 execution pillars. This is what your peak performance is based on. And all of this is 100% trainable. But gurus don't teach this. They're setting frameworks, not transformation. Now, how can you train yourself? Well, here's the best framework for it. Phase 1 is to identify the bottleneck, because you have one pillar limiting you above everything else. If you buy courses but never start implementing, that is most likely an executive dysfunction. Your threat response fires when you need to do the hard thing. If you start strong but you can't sustain, that's most likely a physical performance issue. Your nervous system cannot maintain the pressure. If you execute but quit when things get hard, that is most likely mental performance problems. You're fusing outcomes to identity. If you're busy but not really moving the needle, that is a strategic problem. You're not working on the most important thing. And if you feel like nothing is worth anymore, you feel no meaning in the hard work, that is a spiritual performance hiccup. See, this is how elite founders do it, by working on the most important pillar first. Then you train that bottleneck with actual science. Let's imagine that you realize your mental performance needs training. Lost deals throw you off for days. So what you need to do is, using neuroscience, actually train your amygdala to stop flagging a lost deal like an identity threat, to start secreting cortisol every time things don't match your expectation, to stop having the thinking part of the brain go offline and spiral every time you don't get what you want. And you can do this throughout many different ways. I really like cognitive reappraisal, which is practicing separation between your identity and your outcomes, so you can weaken the identity outcome neural pathway and eventually separate yourself from automatic reactions. You can also do exposure and regulation, which is deliberately facing situations where failure is likely. It can be cold showers, it can be a risky test, it can be cold outreach, while maintaining emotional regulation and training your nervous system to handle failure. It doesn't matter how you actually do it. What matters is that you know what to do and you deploy a specific protocol that is going to elevate and train that bottleneck. And phase number 3, which is the most important, is to lock in the new behavior with a tracking system that gamifies your evolution. So you track execution capacity, not business outcomes. So you track how much time it takes you to recover from a setback. How much are you executing high leverage tasks? What is the overall performance score of your day? And that creates a feedback loop. And over time, you see your recovery time compressing. You see visible progress on lead indicators. You see how your brain gets dopamine from skill improvement, not just outcomes. And you start gamifying the whole process of execution. And that's how you win. By consistently working on the most important thing that allows you to actually put all of those marketing and sales and growth playbooks to action. And not through woo-woo or mindset bullshit, but an actual evidence-based mechanism. Now, every course a guru sold you is actually useful because you know how to get it done. And I remember a client who had invested $40K in marketing and sales program over 3 years. He was so good at marketing that he skipped college and started interning and eventually becoming the right-hand man to Jay Abram, one of the world-leading marketing strategists. He literally ran Jay's machine, every campaign, every event, every system, because he was extremely good at that. The problem was that he wanted to be an entrepreneur himself, but he was scared of launching on his own. He had terrible habits. He didn't have the focus for his own project. No energy, no consistency. He literally was his own worst enemy outside of his 9 to 5. And he even told me when we started working together, I'm sick of courses. I know I'm probably going to fail with yours too, because everything I try doesn't turn into action. And I told him, well, this is not a course, this is a program. We're going to condition your mind, see what happens. 3 months later, he quit his job. Before I thought it was sensible, to be honest. And within 7 months, he was at $100K a month because he was extremely good at sales and marketing. So thanks to training his mind the way I showed him to, he was able to execute on everything that he knew. He was able to change his life, not because he learned one more scaling tactic, but because he stopped making excuses. He started executing. And this is the most important learning that you can have in your business. Every time you operate without untrained execution skills, I guarantee you're leaving millions on the table because you know things you don't execute on. You do too much at the wrong time without the right intensity, and you quit before you have a chance to actually get the result you want. This is why you jump from course to course without really actually getting the result you need. Because if you knew how to execute on demand every day for 12 hours at a time without feeling tired, distracted, or doubtful, your business will already be in 7, 8, or even 9 figures. The most important thing to succeed is not how much you know, it's how much you get done. It's how much you are able to consistently do every single day until you succeed. And here's how I suggest you fix it. You can piece this together through books, research papers, and random content, but that is probably gonna take a decade plus. Or you can run a 2-minute bottleneck analysis and know exactly what's blocking you. It's gonna instantly point you in the right direction. And if you're qualified, you might be invited to solve this permanently by working with us. Remember, the fastest scaling founders don't buy more courses than average. They never say marketing or sales was what built their business. No, it's always about executing like crazy on what they already know. It's not your fault if no one told you this before, but now you do. So go train what matters. Go become an elite operator and see how easy it is to win.